And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Researchers Report. It is certainly nice to be back from vacation. Got a great show for you guys tonight. It is the official first Blueline Wednesday. We got our producer, the lovely Miss Daniela Iolo, in with us as usual, and Adam and so much Jake from the Blueline Bigfoot. Make sure you go check out Blueline Bigfoot. They will be doing the show with us every other Wednesday when we do the narrations. And we got some stories tonight. Tonight I got it's kind of a special story. This it was sent to me. Girl's name is Crystal. She sent this to me a while back, and we weren't doing anything with encounter stories at the time. So I sent it to our buddy Cam over at Dixie Cryptid, and he actually put it in his first marathon.
Oh, nice.
And it's a great story. So we're going to actually tell it again tonight. And I got in contact with her. I talked to her a little bit, and we have a little bit of more added information, a little bit more explaining about the story. To me, it's a great story. It's not so much a Bigfoot encounter, but it is a good story. And we actually, we just put out our 10th documentary, and we're really proud of it. Woodbooker Farm. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, go check it out. Got record views on it of any others in 24 hours. I think we had 16,100 views, which is a lot for us. The next closest one was not even 10,000 in 24 hours. So we're proud that people are watching it and seem to be enjoying it. We have a ton of fun making it. So how is Jake and Adam this afternoon? Adam, you're coming to us from the normal place, right, upstate New York, and I think Jake, you're a ways away in Ithaca, right?
That's correct, Kerry.
And
Out here at Cornell
University, that's right. Daniela is, of course, coming to us from Lancaster, England, and I think it's about 1 o'clock in the morning over there. She's such a trooper.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, yeah.
Oh, look here. I just want you guys to see this.
Trooper.
Look at that from Anthony Sutton. My head is going to explode. Let me tell you guys something. I wasn't subscribed to Paranormal Portal, but I had seen, just in the suggested videos, gone and seen some of their videos. And, Brent Thompson, or Thomas, I'm sorry, is he runs that over there. Paranormal Portal. Go subscribe to Paranormal Portal. He does pretty much the same thing. He does narrations, except it's bedtime stories. And he gave us a glowing review. I swear, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it out the door. My head was getting so big, and it was really quite something. So we definitely appreciate that, Brent, from Paranormal Portal. We're going to be in your live streams from now on. So, and probably in your live dreams. So, without any further ado, I can't tell how many people we have in here, but it looks like we do have a few.
14.
Yeah, about 14, 15. Cool. Y'all ready for this story?
We've got 131 in.
Nice. Oh, I do see it now.
Yeah.
I just don't know where to look with this new format. Now I do. Okay. Everybody ready? Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
This is Crystal. Let me get my squeaky chair. All right. She says, "Hey, Kerry, I have hesitated a few times when thinking about emailing y'all, but decided to go ahead and do it. Let me start by explaining what happened to me. This happened during the summer of 1982. I was 18 years old, and I had lost my dog in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I put an ad in the local paper offering a reward, and I had an older fellow call me at work to tell me he thought he had spotted my dog coming out of the woods behind the house and eating the food, garbage, that he and his wife tossed over the fence. He lived in the general area of where I thought she might be. I asked if I could come show him pictures to make sure it was actually my dog that he had seen, and he agreed to meet. I went to his house and met him and his wife. Very nice people. I showed him the pictures, and he assured me that my dog was indeed the dog he had witnessed coming out of the woods early on several mornings. I asked him, excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. This is terrible. I asked him if he would allow me to camp in his woods overnight so I could be in the area the following morning in the hopes that I'd find my dog. He welcomed me to do just that. That very afternoon, I walked up into the woods through the thickest bramble and briars anyone could imagine. No one would purposely do this, but I was on a mission to find my dog. I put my dog's bed in a fairly soft area under some pine trees, and I also left my sleeping bag and a few other things there that would be sure to have my scent on them, and went to work. I worked at a restaurant and got off around 11:30. I drove back to his place, parked along the road, and with my flashlight, I took off up the hill behind his house to my little camping area. It was probably 12 o'clock to 12:15 when I got there and was all settled in. At some point in time during the night, I heard twigs snapping and opened my eyes. I'm a very light sleeper. I let my eyes adjust and looked into the direction of the noise. I didn't raise up or move much at all and remained completely silent as my eyes were adjusting. Because I was laying down, I was looking upward and could see the silhouette of someone walking toward me from the west. I had walked from the south up into these woods. I instantly thought someone had spotted my car parked along the road, small sports car with a stuffed animal in the dash and a necklace hanging from the rearview mirror. My brain was screaming to me that a crazy murderous maniac spotted a car obviously belonging to a female and was coming to kill me. I can't honestly say exactly how long this figure was walking in my direction, but I do remember thinking, my God, he's a big man. So tall and huge through his shoulders. His waist seemed to be tapered in, though, and his arms long. The way I was laying, I couldn't see all the way down his legs, just a little past his waist. I remember trying to make sense out of the shape of his head. It seemed to me that was wearing a cowboy hat, but without a brim around it, making his head look kind of like cone-shaped. I'm horrible at guessing the distance he was when I first woke up. I'm just not sure. As he kept walking slowly toward me, he kept moving slightly from side to side, downward, like he was actually looking for something. But that but that would be impossible for him to be looking because it was so dark and he didn't have any type of flashlight. He came to about 40 or 50 feet or so from me. Oh, lost my way here. The thing jumped on me, sorry. He came to about 40 or 50 feet or so from me, then stopped abruptly and paused just a moment, and then turned left back the very same way he came. I was never so relieved in my life. I waited a while, listening, but never heard a vehicle start up. Never heard him coming back either, and eventually drifted back off to sleep. Early that morning, still dark, I heard my dog's tags jingling on her collar, and I woke up and sat up and said her name. She came running to me, so excited, and I was so excited and happy to have found her. She had been missing for 6 weeks. Wow. That I just started gathering my things, never even thinking about the man that had been walking in the woods, and headed back to my car. I remember looking at the clock in my car, and it was around 4 a.m. It wasn't until sometime later that day that my thoughts returned to the man in the woods, and my questions were, why was a grown man walking in the woods at night, acting as though he was looking for something without a flashlight? I was an 18-year-old kid and remembered to bring a flashlight. Why was he wearing a cowboy hat without a brim? Why was it so easy for him to walk through that bramble when I was getting my clothes and hair caught on everything? Why was he coming from the west if he had truly been a man who spotted my car on the road to the south? If he had thought there was someone camping in the woods, why didn't he call out to me? Why didn't he stop so suddenly and turn around and leave? Does this sound like maybe Bigfoot behavior? Thank you for taking the time to read my story. I just thought that was great. I mean, that's why I sent it to Cam and he read it. But to me, and even Cam said, the amazing thing, she got her dog back.
That is amazing.
Gone for 6 weeks. And you know, it sounds like Bigfoot to me. I mean, plain and simple, a cowboy
Yeah.
cone-shaped head. Just
Big
the
time.
whole thing screams Bigfoot. And this is her dog. She sent me a picture. Of course, this was 1981. I'm sure this dog's no longer around. I mean, unless it's just a vampire dog or something. I don't know.
Could be.
But
Could.
I mean, pretty dog. I would have wanted that dog. But you know, there's more to the story that people didn't get to hear on Dixie Cryptid. And she sent this to me. A lot of people had commented and kind of, you know, I say a lot of people. There's always a few that have something to say about your story. You know, they're nitpick, try to pick it apart. There's something wrong with this story, in their eyes, anyway. And so she wrote me this, and I'm going to read this for you guys too. She said, "Hey, Kerry, I had noticed in some of the comments on the story that was on DC Cryptid, people didn't understand or know because part of the story was missing. You see, I was very, very close to my dog because we lived together in my car. I had moved to West Virginia from Florida just after high school. I wasn't afraid to sleep in the woods because my dog and I often parked out on old country roads and camped out. I actually spent a winter in my car too. Let me tell you, had I not had my dog for body heat, I probably wouldn't have survived. One person commented that it made no sense that I went back to sleep after I saw the figure. The thing is, at the time I saw the figure, I did not immediately think it might be a Bigfoot. I thought the most logically simple answer was it was a man. I had thought the man
A mass murderer.
Yeah, a mass murderer. That's right. I
Mass
thought
murderer.
the man had given up and left. That's why after a while I was able to fall back asleep. It was only later, actually much later, that I started questioning why a grown man would be out in the woods in the middle of the night without a flashlight. Then I started wondering how this man was able to move through the bramble, only making a minimal amount of noise, a few twigs snapping. When I was trying to get to the pine trees, I was getting my clothes caught on everything and my long hair caught on briars. I also failed to mention that the first day that I was there and spoke with the gentleman that had seen my dog, he told me she came out of the woods early every morning with a pack of several dogs, but she was the only one with a collar. He said the other dogs would continue and cross the interstate, but my dog would return to the same direction she came from. I walked up in the general direction he pointed and took off my long sleeved flannel shirt. I was wearing a t-shirt under, so she wasn't completely nude after that. and I tied the shirt by one sleeve around a small tree so I'd leave my scent. I left and went out to my grandma's garage where I had some stuff stored and got the bottom of her plastic kennel that to her bed when we lived in Florida. Then I took the bed and my sleeping bag and set her up to the woods and set it up to camp before I went to work because I knew it would be dark after work. That flannel shirt was gone when she got back. And in her mind, her dog stopped and pulled the knot out of it and took her shirt. So, I mean, that's another part. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
She ties that flannel shirt up there and then gets back. The shirt's gone. And she's just like in the woods.
Did she mention how high up the tree it was, or?
No, she just said she tied it to a tree.
Probably just right as easy as she probably just tied it right there. So
she said she was going to be in here with us. We might be able to get some answers from her. I don't know. But she said I was young. Now that I'm older, that doesn't really sound as feasible. You can throw some of that information in there too to explain why I wanted my dog back so badly. And y'all saw that dog. I mean, it was a pit bull, it was a beautiful dog. And the reason I wasn't afraid because she was a pit bull and we camped out every night. Slept in my car when it was cold out in the ground and when it was warm. I also had a crazy thing, Bigfoot related, happened to me when I was 7 or 8. We're going to tell that here shortly. But let's review. Let's summarize. Okay, I wanted to read that for her. She felt like, you know, a lot of the story was left out there. But to me, it's incredible. It's amazing. She loses her dog for 6 weeks, a dog she lived with, a dog that apparently had kept her alive. And I'm looking through. There she is, Crystal.
Yeah. That's why she was out there. She loved it like a member of the family, you know? You do anything for family.
That's it.
Exactly. People do go to great lengths for their pets. I know I would.
Why is it not giving me the right? It keeps jumping. That's why. There she is. Well, there she was. There she is.
Hi, Crystal.
Thanks for coming in, Crystal.
Yes, thank you for that story, and I'm kind of, I'm glad we got to clear up some of the concerns you had. Okay, I tied the shirt low because I thought she would lay on my shirt. Okay,
Got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. I'm sorry, Daniela. I didn't know you were doing that. I'm just over here pressing buttons. So
Yeah, no, I should have told you. I
that's
was.
all right. We're just working against each other. But
Adam, do you remember when we lost Wilson? When
Well,
Kate and I were at
there's two different stories that Jake and I have about pets like that. One time, and he can tell a story about the dog Wilson, who was at one point named Hudson. But also, remember the cat Rosignol that was gone for a year?
What?
When me and Jake lived together up in Baker's Mills, and remember that cat came walking back in? You remember that? So
No.
that was just strange up there. Very, very strange country up there. So,
somebody's got their YouTube app volume up, don't they? We can kind of hear that in the background. Who was that? Any of you guys?
Definitely not me.
no,
I only have.
Okay, it may just be some feedback then.
We lost
One
him for
thing-
5 weeks and got him back, and we set up 2 locations just like Crystal, with clothes with our scent on, blankets that he knew. It wasn't for like I think he was gone for almost a month before we had a clue that he was in the next town over, like 17 miles north.
So was he just being a dog and just?
Yeah, running around town. There were a couple different old ladies feeding him, and but he came back 25 pounds heavier. He was the B dog in this 3-dog unit that we had, and when he came back, he was the A dog, definitely. And he threw the A dog around like they didn't get along anymore.
Yeah, came back different.
Yeah,
almost wild.
yeah. 5-week barrel, living on his own.
So what happened with the cat? What was that cat's name?
Rosignol. We called it Rozzy. We had a black cat and a white cat. The black one was Rosignol, and the white cat was Dina Star, Rozzy and Dina, and they were sisters. And so the black cat just all of a sudden was just gone, and we thought it was a lost cause. And over a year later, we're just a bunch of us out in the yard hanging out, having a barbecue or something, and the cat just kind of walks up to us and nudged herself on our leg and was like nothing happened, like it was never gone. It was so bizarre. It was the weirdest thing, and it lived with us for another a month or two, and then it disappeared and we never saw it again. But that was very strange. I'll never forget that. That was just weird.
I don't know, Adam, you got some psychedelic thing going on with your camera there. It's actually pretty cool looking.
That's my light show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I put a psychedelic thing going on my screen here on my computer, and I thought that would bounce against me as like a light show kind of thing, maybe.
That's why we have Blueline Wednesday stuff. Exactly like
outside that box. Outside that box, Hyde.
that box.
Always thinking, hey, I had something to add to the conversation about how when Crystal was, getting comments from people on Dixie Cryptid's site there, and some people are, nitpicking and whatever. Sometimes, there's been a lot of things that have happened to me throughout my life that before I started researching into this whole Bigfoot phenomenon that I just was puzzled with, and I never really thought a lot about it. I thought, okay, that was kind of weird, but then, years went on and I stopped thinking about it. And then I think we talked about this, Kerry, maybe in the first time me and Jake were, but years pass, and then you start doing some research and people are having similar things happen to them. And, all of a sudden you put 2 and 2 together and it's like, okay, this happened to me and I couldn't explain it, but now it's back in the front of my mind. Maybe that's like something that happened with her. Like she doesn't exactly when it's happening know it's a Bigfoot thing. She has no clue. She just your mind goes with the most logical explanation at the time. So it's like, doesn't really, you don't investigate it tons, but when you start looking into something years later and you're figuring it out, then all of a sudden, boom, bingo, a light bulb goes off in your head, and you're like, holy cow, that was, yeah, I always knew something was weird about that encounter, that experience, and now it kind of seems to me like the only thing that really makes sense is probably one of these creatures. And I've got a lot of experiences like that are still popping up in my memory banks, and every time they do, it's like spooky. I get like, you know, the chills and be like, whoa, that was weird. So I can relate to Crystal on that. Like, kind of at first, you know, yeah, she goes back to bed, she goes back to sleep. What else is she gonna do? She thinks it's probably a person. What else is she gonna think? She's not out there squatching.
But you know, I think most of us can relate to that, because that's the first thing I told, was all the weird things that happened to me that I was able to, you know, that came back to me.
Yeah.
After I saw what I saw.
Yep.
Never would have even dreamed that's what those things, you know, that's what it was until I did. So, you know, there's that epiphany, there's that moment of awareness that, you know, that we're all trying to push here, that we want everybody to have, just so you have it, just so you're not thinking, hey, this is what is that? That's just a cat or whatever in the woods, or a deer, or no, you got to go there. You just do, whether it is or not. You know, I think it's a good thing to go there. I think it will save you some sanity in the long run, just in case this ever happens. One of these things just steps out and says, hey, hello to you. Because I'm telling you, we do not, as people, I say we, most normal people do not have the emotional fortitude to handle it. If you're not ready for it and it comes out, you can't. I couldn't, and I don't see how anybody else can. You know, I think it's different when you're going to look for it. Then because obviously you're aware, you know what you're looking for, you're expecting it. But when you're not, you're thinking this is something else, and this happens.
100%.
This is where people pass out and void themselves, you know, pee the pants, and you know.
We've been into this whole thing for years, and I'm not ready for it. You know, I'm not. I mean, from a distance, yeah, that would be cool, but a face-to-face or close-up encounter is something that I really don't really want to have happen to me, because I know myself, and I know that what it would do to my head, and that's all I would think about. It would consume me. I know it would, and I'd probably, you know, I'd lose it. I wouldn't be able to function in this world. So that's what I think. Maybe I'd be okay, but
they're not pretty.
I've heard.
They're not pretty. They're not pleasing to the eye. We're talking about a monster, you know, the boogeyman, essentially. You fear for your life.
Yep.
This is how I felt. I feared for my life. I was so far away from anything that was going to get me out of there. I felt fast enough. I just wasn't going to make it. And that's the simple bottom line to it. You are looking at something that's not supposed to exist in the first place, and it's a monster, plain and simple.
Yeah. And why is it showing itself to you? Why is it stepping out in front of you, you know? And why has it been knocking on Adam's door so long? And, you know, there's certain people. Why is it, you know, why is it hanging out down in Woodbury Farms? Why, you know what I mean? Well, you know.
Let's see. LA Swamp Ape. Kerry, do you just treat them like a bear? You know what, Carl? I guess that wouldn't be a bad idea, to treat them like a bear. I don't know. I've never experienced bears. I don't know. How do you treat a bear? Do you take off running? I don't know. I don't think you run from any predator, period. But I just think if you're going to be in the woods for any length of time, and just prepare yourself. Just prepare yourself, because it can happen.
I hear you're supposed to avoid eye contact. You know, I hear that over and over and over again. It comes from the Native Americans. I mean, that's what they told their children and other people. You know, you come across one of these things, don't confront it. Step away. Don't make eye contact with it. You know, get out of its way as like gently as possible, and kind of just go along, pretend like you didn't see it, and do your thing, and kind of just move along and try to get back to safety as soon as you can. That's what I think you should do. But then again, I don't know.
No doubt, without a doubt. Well, let's see. Before we
100%.
carry on, let's make a few announcements here. There's links in descriptions for Paranormal Gift Shop. Go check out the items they have there. A lot of gift items and novelty items, UFO, ghost, Bigfoot stuff. Use promo code Bigfoot Odyssey 10 to get a 10% discount. Also, there's a link for My Patriot Supply, emergency food supply. They've got there's quite a few deals they have on our website. It's preparewithbigfoot.com. The link is going to be in the description for that if it's not there already. Daniela's on top of things. But use our
Everything's out
website
there.
and you get 48% off anything you purchase there, and it's really good food. We actually cooked some of it. We cooked the macaroni and cheese. It was great. You know, it was to me better than Velveeta shells and cheese.
Ooh la la!
It was really good.
Big money.
Yeah,
Speaking my language,
that's man food right there.
big time.
Jeez.
I mixed it up a little bit the other day. I cooked those tri noodle things and just got the block of Velveeta and
Yeah,
made my own version of shells and cheese.
Velveeta.
Each to them.
I think a portion of my blood is actually Velveeta cheese. Just saying.
Mine's part craft dinner. I know that.
But tonight
had it last night.
Tonight on Bigfoot Explorer, 8:30 p.m. Central, the Patrick Vaughn Chronicles Part 4. That's our field producer Scott Owens, his channel Bigfoot Explorer. You guys don't miss that. That's going to be at 8:30 tonight. And on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, our good friend Christopher Noel has his new live show, Sasquatch Civic Duty. Sasquatch and Civic Duty. He had Claudia Ackley on, I think was this past Tuesday night. It was a really good show. You guys go check it out. But that's our good friend Christopher Noel, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. And for us this Saturday, we've got our very own Jason Parsons, Mr. Bigfoot Tony, is going to be in with Mr. Leon Thompson. That's Bigfoot Okanagan. That's going to be this Saturday at 6 p.m. Central. Is that right, Danielle? 6?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when it's Jason on, it's at 6 p.m. Central. And then Wednesday, 7 p.m. next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central, we're going to have Max Powers on the show. So good stuff. We're excited about that. But we're going to move on here. We're going to get to Crystal's encounter when she was a kid. And we'll talk about that for a little bit. We're just burning right along here, aren't we? We actually we had some pictures we were going to put up, and it kind of didn't work out too well. So it was I got to figure out how to send them bigger, because they would go up, but they were like this small. You were going to be with a magnifying glass trying to see what.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't going to work out. So all right, this is Crystal number 2. It was the summer of 1971. I was 7 years old, turning 8 in the fall, 7.5. I lived in Hollywood, Florida with my family. My mom, dad, baby brother, and I often went camping at a place called Sawgrass Park. We had one of them big old canvas tents, you know, the kind that have the frames that seem to take forever to set up. The tent had one main room when you first walked in. That's a big tent. It's got rooms in it. And 3 smaller rooms / areas separated by flaps and zippers. One off to each side and one in the back. Each room had its own mesh window that could be covered by a flap and zipper. My mom and dad and baby brother slept in the small room in the back, and I slept by myself, because she was a big girl, in the room to the left. There were several other groups camping in the park all around us. It had been a long day. I spent it playing, exploring, and collecting empty apple snail shells. After we ate our dinner, made on a fire we built, we all went to bed. I'm positive I fell asleep very quickly. At some point during the night, I was startled awake by a bunch of people shouting, dogs barking, and what sounded like various pots and pans and general clanking and banging around of sorts. I raised up and looked out the little mesh window, and all I could see were people running around with flashlights, all zigzagging back and forth. I couldn't really understand what was going on, but I did know that someone had let loose their hunting dogs, and I could hear them barking in the distance. This chaos went on for some time, and as things quieted down, I must have just drifted back to sleep. The following morning, as the sun was coming up, I woke up again. I sat up, and again I was looking and listening out my little window. I remember people were packing up to leave the park, and I heard a man talking to another man about how someone had torn the heads off 3 of his best dogs. I remember feeling very panicked. I heard the other man say the words, "It was a skunk ape." I had never heard of a skunk ape. I went and asked my mom what a skunk ape was, and she tried her best to explain what she knew, but she told me there was no such thing. It all was just a story, and I shouldn't worry, which is what you should tell your kids. I remember when I was a couple of years older, I was at a book fair at my school, and I found a book there for sale all about skunk ape and one on the Devil's Triangle. I bought them both. From then on, I've always been curious about the unknown. I will never forget the feeling I had in my gut when I heard the man say his dogs' heads were torn off. As the internet has become a place to share stories and I find information, I have heard of other stories where people have found their dogs with their heads torn off. It makes me shudder with the realization that my childhood memory was very much a real experience. Wow. Man, dogs. I mean,
Dog
he didn't
murder and
he
skunk.
didn't say cut off. He said torn off.
Torn off.
What tears dogs' heads off?
Yeah.
Do you know a
Not-
person, a human
not-
being on this planet that could do that? I don't think so.
Yeah. Not even Brock Lesnar. I don't even think he could rip a
That
dog's head
man
off.
Brock, that says what
Yeah.
inside of 2 doors, couldn't do it. But I mean, did we lose Adam? Is he gone?
Lost him for now, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, it keeps coming in and out. He'll be back.
Just like a watch. It's
Okay.
coming in and out.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's not a direct encounter, but think about what went on there. I mean, I would call that a Bigfoot experience. And where we have the map, Daniela?
We do.
Hollywood, Florida. That's a little north of Miami, I believe, right?
It is.
Adam and I did some work down there, and I think Hollywood's a name I remember seeing on a map close to us.
But you know, I had actually had a bunch of pictures where
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Just about 40 miles north of there.
I'm pretty sure.
Some pictures from about 60 miles west of there. And
Yeah.
we were going to show all those pictures and of what's around there. And to me, they were great pictures. The one that was taken by Albert Burlingame, which you can find in our 5th episode at about the 38 or 39 minute mark. There's 2 pictures in there, and one of them, and it's exactly what I had seen. When I saw that picture that that Albert had sent me, it just felt like vindication. It's like, that exactly what I had seen. And that, I mean, that face, you can't look like a black, plain and simple. That weighed about 500 pounds.
Yeah, and what a relief too, right? You know, on your spirit, on your soul. Like before, thinking you're crazy or thinking, you know, what the H am I looking at here? You know, because at first you're rationalizing it as, oh, that's just a person with a lot of clothes on, or you know what I'm saying, or that's just a tall person. You know,
Well,
your mind is kind of, for a split second, it's making you believe that it might be something else, and then you snap into reality, like, that's not what you're looking at.
It's such disbelief that there's those moments of wavering, back and forth, where this thing is standing there 80 feet away. I can see exactly what it is now. I can see the hair on it, and still the brain goes back to, is this a dude? Is somebody messing with me? You know? And then, I mean, the mouth opens up and the noises start coming out. And then, you know, confirmation is there that you're about to die, that this is the end. That was the feeling anyway. But you're right. It's so hard to comprehend and believe. When you do see it, you have to convince yourself that it's real, that's exactly what you're seeing. And even after, you know, I had brief moments of, you know, did this really happen? And then, I mean, obviously I snapped back from that because I knew it did. And there's the feeling is it's so hard to describe.
How about
That I call it that washed over feeling, because I would
you
would
say that
after that. I would get that cold water, you know, pouring over you, feeling quite a bit. Like I said, I felt like I had escaped with my life. I had cheated death somehow. And I mean, before I knew anything about them, obviously, once I found out a little more about them, I didn't feel that way anymore. But in the moment, you know, I had already made promises, you know, about going back in the woods. I had done a lot of foxhole praying on the way out, you know, promising God I'd never kill another animal. So I couldn't, even if I wanted to go back and hunt, I'm not going to. I'm not going back on that promise.
Good for you.
Roger that.
You know, I want to acknowledge some of our moderators, Sissy Lawson, Five Hazel. I can't tell they're moderators from this chat, but that's just some of the ones that I recognize. You know, they do such a great job, and I didn't make that announcement, you know, today about keeping it clean, but those guys absolutely keep it clean for us. Because if there's, and I'll say this, if there's a lot of swearing in the chat, YouTube will demonetize your video. So not that that's the reason, you know, we like to keep it clean, family show.
Yeah, something grandma would watch.
That's it. And we certainly appreciate it.
Cam there from Dixie Cryptid had a good video all about that just recently that Jake brought to my attention, and had a lot of good things to say about it. You know, kids are watching this stuff, makes us think a little bit more about the way we approach things, and why not? It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to put out something that I would let my kids watch. You know, I've got, our youngest is 10 years old, you know, and then the next one is 16 and knows everything. Obviously, he's 16.
For sure.
He's been around the world, so
Still set the example.
He's definitely his mother's son. I can tell you that much. I love you, baby. But okay, we still got some time left here. Obviously, I've burned through all this. What do you guys think about the first story? The thing coming up on her. Do you think that was a guy?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, what she said, well, why was it coming from the west versus, you know, the south where she parked? Is it, you know, was it, you know, some kind of flanking maneuver? That's like a predatory thing, right? So if it was a mass murder psycho serial killer, you know, maybe that's what, you know, you're not going to come up the expected path, right? So that would make sense to come out from a different direction. Or, you know, I don't know. I was just spitballing. But
why did he stop and then leave? You know, he gets 40, 50 feet away, which is, I think, the point where it noticed her. You know, it is walking around in the dark without a flashlight. I don't know too many people that can do that.
And then through the brush she described, I mean, I've heard a lot of encounters where these things just motor through thick underbrush without a problem, and they just bolt right through it. And then, you know, you come to a spot as a human to try to get into like one of these locations, and you really can't go through there without a machete or something to cut back the brush. And it's just kind of mind blowing when you see one of these creatures just, you know, they blast through it like it was water.
That's
and
right. Saw it myself, was wondering why doesn't he just come up into the clear? Why is he walking through the thickest stuff out there? Worst stuff. I'm like, I'm thinking this guy's an idiot. I was upset. I was mad at this dude. I was, thinking about what I was gonna say to him. Giving him the business for
What you
destroying
doing?
all the time I'd put in. And I mean, until the walls came tumbling down, he was walking through the worst stuff out there.
Yeah, which relates with the night that I heard the stones being thrown in the water when I went back in the daytime and looked at where whatever was doing that would have had to have been standing. Same thing. It's like the shrub is so dense you couldn't walk through it anyway, even if you wanted to. And why would you? Why would you be there?
Yeah, what's the point?
It all says Sasquatch to me.
Yep.
I have this thing about everything anyone tells me being true, because how can I tell somebody they didn't see a Sasquatch? I can't do it. And there was actually, I say that, but there was one person that sent me a telling of what happened to them one time. And they made the statement that they had gone looking for it after they saw it. And I just kind of, I don't think so.
I've heard that before, though. I've heard that on more than one occasion. And it's like, it goes back to that whole infrasound thing where these people are just kind of like compelled to, maybe take their clothes off and start walking in one direction. And, and then there's this other story I heard, like this guy's riding on his motorcycle and his dirt bike or something and sees this thing and like gets off his bike and starts walking after it. And it's like, is this guy just telling a tall tale, or is there something going on that we just can't explain? Because mentally, I'm putting myself in that position and I'm like, there's just no way. There's just no way. I mean, you would. So I don't know. That could just be one of those other undescribables that we just have no idea what's going on.
It could be, but to me, I kind of look at context and I look at what was happening with this guy. And I was driving back to work, like on a 12-hour drive, and he called me. It was late one night, and we were talking. He's telling me his experiences, and I think we had just gotten maybe our 3rd episode put out, and he's telling me that what was going on, and this thing was throwing rocks in the creek that he was fishing in. He may be watching right now. I don't know. It's possible, but I'm not calling you a liar, buddy. I'm just questioning your decisions here. But this thing is throwing. He can't see it at this point, but these huge rocks are just like half a basketball sized rocks are hitting the water by him. And he looks up and he sees this thing standing by a tree. It's massive. And when he sees it, it sees him seeing it. And then he said it just jets really fast, like 2 or 3 trees over. And he said he thought it stopped right there. Well, he says he's fishing. He takes his fishing pole and walks up there after it, trying to see it. And that just kind of bothered me a little bit. I mean, does that sound like something a normal person would do? Unless you just absolutely weren't sure about what you were seeing. But again, I'm thinking context.
He's got the full armor.
Well, to me, that sounds like a different version of a pretty horrifying story that these guys had. I think it was him and his brother or him and his cousin or something. They were fishing, and this thing was throwing rocks at them. And the one guy in the boat starts yelling thinking it's some dude there messing with him. And that was the reason why he was doing this, not because he saw a Sasquatch, because he thought it was a human being in there. And then, things went downhill from there. But that kind of sounds so similar to that story to me that maybe he heard that somewhere and put a spin on it.
Yeah, maybe. But, apparently these 30-pound rocks are come flying in. I mean, I don't know very many people that can actually do that. It just seems like there's got to be a point where you're putting together that this is not somebody. And you see this looks up.
Yeah.
Of course, I wasn't there, and like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to disparage the guy. I'm not trying to say he was lying, but that was one of the stories that actually made me think twice about what might have actually happened. You know, did he, did he really see this big thing, or did he just get a glimpse? And these huge rocks that are come splashing. I mean, obviously the fishing is over at that point.
But he took his pole up, walking up the bank after it, like he was gonna poke around the tree to see if it would come out.
He had his fishing pole in his hand. And he walked up to where the thing was, and to try to see. And I just that bothers me a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But hey, we had Crystal. Thank you so much for sending us those stories tonight. That was absolutely awesome. The last travel episode out. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. We're very proud of that one. Rick Wells, I mean, what an awesome guy. Jay Ward, absolutely. These two guys, these are men in my book. Yeah, that doesn't get any more. The word I'm trying to use is, I guess, it's not just integrity. I mean,
authenticity.
Yeah, well, absolutely. They're definitely authentic and and true to heart. They
real
family oriented people. I mean, anybody that's been listening to Rick Wells and Woodburger Farm for any amount of time. Look, I see Hiker Dave in the comments here. I'm coming up there. I'm coming up there, Dave. Let's see. Kerry, come see me here in New Hampshire. You got to see some of what I found. Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, we are leaving, heading to Vermont in September. We're going to be going to actually see the Blueline Bigfoot boys. I don't know. New Hampshire's right in that area too, isn't it? So we may just, we may just come right on through there and get all you guys on camera. But we're going to be doing an episode with Christopher Noel. We're very excited about it. I'm going to start contacting Christopher. We're going to start working up a narrative and a shot list for Christopher, because he's got so much stuff. 13 years, and we like to try to keep it chronological. When we're actually doing the travel shows. So a lot of work going to be going into the next one. And I think it's going to be another long one. This may be a 2.5 hour one. So he's got a heck of a story to tell and so much evidence. It's insane. I mean, the guy's been on Finding Bigfoot. He's been out there in the Bigfoot world, the Bigfoot community for over 13 years now. And we're very excited about this one, but we do plan on coming by and having a nice face-to-face meet and greet with Jake and Adam, the Blueline Bigfoot boys. We are going to do that. We still haven't decided how we're getting there. It's a 22-hour drive from here.
That's a long haul, bud.
Right. But, to fly, it was about $1,300 round trip for both of us. So that's into the budget a little bit for the travel.
And you got to rent a vehicle and you got to do all that too. So
yeah, well, I don't think it would cost that much in diesel to get there and back with the drive. So we may just jump in the truck and drive.
Yeah.
Make it a 2-day trip. But definitely we're definitely going to get a lot of stuff, because we're going to, you guys, and Hiker Dave, you got my phone number, man. Call me.
Someone here is asking what the most intense encounter the Blueline Bigfoot crew has had.
Brandon Black, he's an awesome guy right there.
Yeah. We've had Jake and I have both had a lot of audio encounters, a lot, and stuff that's totally scared me. Together, encounters of us hearing things together, not so much, but definitely when we're by ourselves and out in the woods, some really creepy stuff that can only be Bigfoot as far as we can tell. Sounds, footfall, stuff that seems like it's following us. Pacing us, paralleling us. No visual encounters. I've never seen anything and been like, oh, that's Bigfoot. or anything close to it.
Right.
But footprints, basically, you're just a big bunch of just your run of the mill Bigfoot encounter type stuff, aside from visual encounter. Jake's had some really creepy stuff happen up in Irishtown.
Just the one throwing the stones. It was really early in the morning, late at night. So, I took off running. It was a flight or fight situation. And yeah, I don't really think I was attributing it to Bigfoot per se at the time. It was like, who the heck is out there this time? I didn't want to find out, and really, like, you're talking about washed over feeling. You were saying, like, my shoulders got hot when you said that, because I could remember, like, you're running as fast as you can, thinking, I'm not getting out of here.
Yeah.
So, and then you do, and whatever, but still, you're still shaking. You're still scarred.
You want to talk about relief? I was coming up the hill. When I was coming up the hill and I could see my four-wheeler, and it starts to open up. But I mean, you talk about a view of heaven from a seat in hell, is that there. But it's also the scaredest I was at any point was getting on the four-wheeler and knowing, because I couldn't go forward. I was having to back up because that thing just broke the limb coming up the hill, and I stopped and turned around, and then there's this crack. Wow, that's when I ran. That's the first time I ran the whole time. About 200 feet, jump on the four-wheeler, and I can't go forward. I got to back up toward this thing. that was the made it this far, and now it's just over.
Yeah, like, who's scripting this? Sorry.
My stupid fault. Every time I came in, I pulled the four-wheeler in the same place, straight into the thick bushes and trees right there, and got off and walked in. So it was my own fault. But that's that feeling that
you got to always park your four-wheeler gangster style, Kerry. You got to back her in so you can leave the scene.
The four-wheeler ever. The best I'll ever do is a boat. So I'm happy with my pickup. That's good enough for me. But it's an inharmonious range of feelings when you go through, or it was for me going through something like that, because first I was excited because I had all these turkeys coming. I'd never called in that many turkeys before. It was incredible. And I think the only reason I did is because there were no big gobblers. If you're calling and you're turkey hunting and it's that time of year, mating season for the turkeys, and you're sounding like, the sexiest hen you can, you get the gobbler's attention. They're going to be the ones that come first. I can imagine the rest of them would eventually come, but there could have been, I don't know, but I didn't hear any. I knew I heard Jakes because they have a different kind of gobble when they gobble. What they call it, the Jakes are the young males. Yeah, they don't finish it. They just kind of halfway do it. So I knew there were those, but there were so many. So I'm excited. And then they're gone. Now I'm upset. I'm angry. And then I was terrified, the walk out. And then I'm elated and then terrified again. So it was a lot of, I don't know how I didn't have a heart attack or pass out. And I don't know how I end up talking about my encounter every single show. But it's all I've got. It's all I've got. I get to compare everybody else's experience to mine, and I know that's probably not fair at all. But
it is what it is, man.
It is. And
so in July of 2016, Adam and I had been doing this a couple years now. We've had some interviews and blah blah blah. So when I heard that, I heard something I can't explain. And that incident with the rocks happened in 2010, 4 years we ever started. 4 years before we started. So, I wasn't putting those two together, and I walked, I could have just sat in the car and I never would have heard this thing, it's early in the morning, but I got out to go, stand by the road, check on the gunslinger. And when I heard it, I'm like, I was almost like, who's writing this stuff? I couldn't believe it for one. But the same thing, I don't know. You just get overwhelmed. emotional.
That's right.
And then I went back to the car and turned up the radio.
That's all I said. We do not have the emotional bona fides fortitude. We don't have it. We don't possess it. I didn't possess it. I think maybe women may possess it more than most men do. They could probably handle it on an emotional level. But when you are so, and I was so arrogant that I knew this place and my surroundings better than anybody. Nobody, you can't tell me if you'd have told me there was Sasquatch out there before I saw that thing, I would have laughed at you. I know I would have. Nobody knows this better than me. It's the attitude that got me lost a couple of times because I knew where I was going. And I think that's just when you get like that, and I hate this, I'm not trying to put men in a box, but I mean, that's kind of the way we are. You can't tell me anything. I got this. Back up. This is mine. And then when you get that type of fear that you think you can never experience, or you've never experienced it, so you don't have a frame of reference for it. You shut down. You don't know what to do. Most everything I remember is in the moment. I couldn't tell you much about the walkout at all because I don't remember it. I think I was just shut down. Simple as that.
In shock.
Let's see. We got any questions, Daniela?
Just looking through.
Well, if anybody wants to come on the researcher's report, if you want to come on and tell your story, you can go to our website. It's bigfootodyssey.us. We have a survey there. You can take that. My phone number is there. Call me. If you want us to narrate your story, if you don't want to come on yourself, there you go. Email us at theresearchersreport@gmail.com. That's where Daniela will get those, and she'll send them on to me, and we'll narrate your story for you. I actually had Cam Dixie Cryptid. He actually sent us Air Sasquatch. He sent us quite a few of his stories. So we've got some to tell. I just got to go through them, and I apologize for not having more to give you guys tonight. I actually didn't think I was going to make this. I was supposed to be driving to work, and I got pushed off another day. So I know Daniela was relieved because it was just going to be the Blueline guys with Daniela. All right. There's a question from JJ, Blueline.
Absolutely.
98.
You saw orbs?
Big time. Back, that's another one of those experiences that happened to me when I was a kid that I didn't put together until years later. And this is right in that same Irishtown type of area. Orbs, balls of light, things that I thought were flashlights going up in the woods and in and around the trees. Definitely seen them.
That's got to be an energy thing.
We had orbs follow me and Jake from Lake Placid down into Keene Valley. 2 big orange ones.
Yeah, in 98.
Yep. About that big around.
Wow.
Yep. That's a different story. I mean, that was nuts.
Yeah. Well, that was after working a 12-hour shift all day, early in the morning, driving home. The roads were crooked as a politician, but we were sober as a judge.
That's right, Jake.
Well, my brother told me about seeing an orb in the woods driving down the road, and I was probably he's 5 years older than I am. I was probably 14 or 15, so he was 19 or 20, and I saw this blue orb floating 6-7 feet off the ground, about 200 feet off into the woods, right with the car. And I'm thinking he saw the reflection of the inside light off his window or something, And then I've heard all these other stories about people seeing these basketball-sized orbs. I've never seen them or experienced them, but I mean, people are seeing something.
Oh yeah,
sure. Shaggy McScraggy, I love that name.
Out on the porch, For that, I had the olfactory experience. That was this is before I did any research on the subject in depth, and so this scent came wafting up over the porch when I was just out there sitting there. It just got dark, and the scent was so pungent and so strange to me that it really just it got my attention instantly, and then it just kind of went away. And I'm sitting there. I came back again. The second time I smelt it, it just freaked me out. Hair stood up on my entire body. I grabbed all my recording equipment, ran inside, and locked the door. That's how strong and weird the smell was. The smell just smelled like something was telling me something that they were there. It was like this: I'm here. My presence is here. I'm here. No sounds, nothing, but this smell. That was just. I'll never forget it. It was messed up.
I smelled it down in Florida. Smells like stale urine and an old dish rag type smell. And that was, I mean, we knew they were in the area. I had actually gotten a glimpse of one that I'm pretty sure was a big male, 60 feet ahead of us, just step out in the trail and step back in. Didn't have a camera going, nothing ready, just step out and back. That's the only other one I can say that I'm pretty sure was, it wasn't a person. And then I didn't want to go down there after that. So I can't tell you much.
There has to be some kind of code. There has to be some kind of so why did you see it, Adam? Why did Kerry, why did it show itself to you? You know, different. So, you know,
I think
to look at it on a spreadsheet, there's got to be something we're not seeing.
For me personally, I think because it was kind of a special situation. This is just what I think. I was in those woods so much. I was there around them at least 300 days a year. But there was a reason I was there. It wasn't just because I liked to be in the woods. I didn't want to be around other people. I had a lot of things had gone on, and I just shut away from people. So I was out there around them constantly. I think they knew who I was, and I think they thought that I knew they were there just because of some of the interactions I had had over the years. You know, that I thought I was suspicious that it was somebody either out there messing with me or just had wandered in from because there were houses around, and I'd hear people talking, hear kids playing down in the creek. I mean, a lot of things went on, and hearing what I thought was my friend coming up doing the owl noise and the fox sound, and I'm hollering at him, I know that's you. You might as well come on out, you know, and he never comes out. So it was that obvious that it wasn't an owl because I knew it wasn't an owl. And so I think those things attributed to I had done something different then. I was hunting far after deer season, which I'd never done. I'd been out there, but it was always to either improve the property or just camp out or whatever. And so I'm hunting on after deer season, the time I never hunted. I'm hunting a place I never hunted before. I never hunted for turkey, things I'd never done. And I think it just maybe that it was across the line. I crossed the line. I had done too much, and they let me know it. And, you know, it wasn't like this thing came out into the open. I mean, he was still, even though he was 80 feet away, going through there, I'm getting glimpses of it. I'm looking and I can see that this is a guy. And I think he was coming up the hill, and he would look at me and I'd look back. And when I waved at him, I mean, it could have been that, you know, he wasn't scaring me off then. I wonder what he thought about me waving at him. Comes back around and he's standing in a gap, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet wide gap, trees and brush everywhere. I couldn't see much below his waist. I couldn't tell you if it was a male or not. That was that much of it that I couldn't see. So I think it was all those things. But
it was dappled vision before, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Couldn't see it fully, but yeah, moving through the now what about this? Maybe it was the cars. Maybe it was just what you needed instead of maybe it wasn't saying
well, I can tell you what I've got.
Soul related.
I've gotten there's 234 people watching this right now that I would call every single one of them my friend.
Without a doubt. And they're there every time.
Guys sitting right here on this cast with me, Daniela, Adam, and Jake, that I definitely call my friends. So that's what I've gotten out of it. A lot of good relationships with people, and I mean it's a community. Absolutely. If anybody says it isn't, they don't know what they're talking about. But I think we've gone past an hour a little bit, so we're gonna call it a day. I want to thank Scott Owens for creating we're gonna do that. For creating our new thumbnail. Thank you, Scott. It looks really good. It looks a lot. That other one was kind of abrupt and colorful and not very pleasing to the eye. So with hoping that this new one's going to work out. And don't forget, check out Bigfoot Explorer tonight. Patrick Vaughn Chronicles. That's going to be at 8:30 Central. This is going to be part 4 of the Patrick Vaughn Chronicles. And don't forget Tuesdays, 7:00 p.m. Eastern, Sasquatch and Civic Duty. That's going to be on Impossible Visits channel with our good friend, Mr. Christopher Noel. This Saturday, Bigfoot Tony and Leon Thompson, Bigfoot Okanagan. Go check out Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, it's bedtime stories, but that's the kind of stuff you put on and you lay down to go to bed. That's what I'm going to do anyway tonight. But we do have a giveaway. We're going to be giving away another 1-week food supply from my Patriot Supply. This is how you enter. Like this video, share this video, and leave a comment. It doesn't have to be a great comment. We know we get terrible comments all the time. That's fine. The cutoff is going to be Monday night. Is it Monday night? Today, Wednesday. Yeah, the cutoff's going to be next Monday night. Next Wednesday we'll announce the winner of that. So that's how you enter. Leave a comment, share, and if you go back and look, everyone that I've loved, I put the little heart sign on. Those are the ones that are entered. So anybody that comments after Monday night at midnight will not be able to be entered. We'll draw your name out on Wednesday. We'll number them. We'll get the little generator. That's right. We'll get the little number generator. We'll draw your name out and make sure that you shared the video, and we'll send you your 1-week food supply. John Nolan won it last time, and we hand delivered it to him. It was awesome.
Awesome. Nice.
I want to thank Blueline Bigfoot, Jake and Adam for showing up. Always. Thank you so much, Daniela, for everything you do for us here. It's just absolutely wonderful. I'd like to thank all of our moderators. You're great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Y'all have a blessed evening. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, guys.